All right, what makes something a fungus? Well, first of all, fungi are categorized or classified on how they get their nutrition. And this is a really good example in contrast to plants. So fungi are heterotrophs. Oopsie. Oh my gosh, where's there? Heterotrophs, which means they eat food made by someone else. And before we go anywhere else, let's contrast that, I'll do it in green, with what would be the opposite of heterotroph. How about autotroph? And then what do you think autotroph means? They make their own food. How do they do this? And who does this? Well, I am definitely not an autotroph because everyone in my life feeds me, which is why I'm really glad that my parents are here right now because I'm getting fed really well. And my husband also feeds me. And even my children, when they are here, they feed me. I am not an autotroph. But that example is terrible because they are not autotrophs either. They have to go to the store to get the food or go to the garden or go hunting to get the food that they get. So they are also heterotrophs, even though I sort of made it sound like they were not. But all animals are heterotrophs. And who are the only autotrophs in this planet of ours? Okay, every time I say things like that, only autotrophs are, my brain was thinking plants, but there are other autotrophs. Plants are autotrophs because they photosynthesize. So they can make their own sugar. And all they need is sunshine and they can create food for themselves. Fungi look like plants. It's one of the reasons why I'm doing them together. And in fact, you learn about fungi in a botany class. If you take botany, botany is the study of plants, but they plug in a unit on fungi in the plant class because they are really similar, even though we look at our cladogram and you can see that, yeah, the fungi group actually share a more recent common ancestor with animals than they do with plants. This is the plant common ancestor with with fungi, and this is the animal common ancestor. Oh my God, you know what I mean. So our cladogram illustrates this fact, but they definitely look like this would not be the case. So what are they? Oh my goodness. Most of them are, I don't even know if I should say most of them are multicellular, but many of them are multicellular and they're made of a thing called hyphae. And these are like weird tubes that create a network of cell-like organism. And it almost like they're microscopic tubes. So if you looked at a microscopic view of the mushroom or the fungus, you would see these like long, almost like this, almost like here's a cell, here's a cell, here's a cell, here's a cell. And they make these like long tubes of fungus body. And the actual mushroom, I've got a picture here of an actual mushroom. You can see that this structure is the fruiting body that we associate with the mushroom. That's actually the reproductive structure. So let's label that. Reproductive body. That's the mushroom that we see and eat. But the majority of the fungus self or organism is actually hyphae found in the soil. So all of this stuff right here, this kind of web-like looking tangled, it looks spider webby. And you can find stuff like that. If you go out in a redwood forest and you look under the leaf litter or kind of dig in, you can find this spiderwebby looking stuff, and that is likely the hyphae of fungi. Mats or nets of hyphae, so lots and lots of these tubes put together, are called a mycelium. So one tube is a hypha, and put a bunch of them together and you get a structure called the mycelium. And the bulk of the fungus is mycelium found underground. And often a disturbance takes place. And like, of course, this is how critters function. When a disturbance takes place, the critter goes, uh-oh, I better have sex. And will proceed to burp up a fruiting body, which is the reproductive structure that then makes spores and causes additional fungi to be created. There's something I was going to tell you about this. A story I was going to tell you. I don't know what I was going to tell you. The hyphae, the mycelium underground, can be huge. In fact, the biggest one was 37 acres big. And an acre is a little bit less than a football field. So like 37 football fields of fungus network underground is one critter, one organism. Like, what? That's humongous. That's really cool. Okay, there's actually a tremendous amount of diversity in fungi, and we're going to look at the cladogram and talk about some of the groups of different fungi that we're going to be responsible for.